Right. So today's topic, as you know, it's titled "Humility, Eternally Aspired Quality." Now, in spiritual life without humility has real no meaning at all, no meaning. And we all know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had specifically told us that we should wear a particular verse around our neck. We should string it and wear it around our neck. And that verse is Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Api Sahishuna Manedena Kirtanya Sadahari. The translation is follows. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So we can see this verse basically it's so important that Chaitanya told us we should wear it around our neck. And if you see, if you analyze the various pastimes of Lord Krishna also, where Lord Krishna through his particular Leela, he has showed us that we should try to imbibe this quality of humility. There's one such pastime when Yudhishthira Maharaj he was conducting this Rajasurya Yagya. And obviously, we know this Rajasurya Yagya goes for days and days. And it's a very big event. So many guests and visitors had come for this Rajasurya Yagya from many parts of the world. And Krishna Bhagavan, Lord Krishna, he took up the service. He took up the service that I would like to wash the feet of all the visitors who come for this Yagya. Imagine there were hundreds and hundreds of visitors. But Lord Krishna, with the supreme personality of Godhead, Anand Sheshji, through his thousands and thousands of mouth, since time immemorial, is glorifying the Lord. And still he has not finished the glorification of the Lord fully. Such Lord Krishna, he's doing what? He's washing the feet of all the visitors and guests who are coming. It's a very supreme example of humility. Then there's another story of Lord Krishna. This is regarding the Rukmini pastime. When Rukmini Devi had sent a Brahmin messenger to Dwarka with a letter for Krishna. And when this Brahmin messenger, he reached Dwarka, then when he came to meet Krishna, so Krishna, when this messenger came to meet Krishna, this Brahmana messenger, so Krishna got up from his golden throne and Krishna made this Brahmana sit on his throne and Krishna performed Aarti of this Brahmana. Krishna performed the Aarti of this Brahmana like the demigods would perform Aarti of Lord Krishna. And after doing that, Lord Krishna arranged for his bath, and then Lord Krishna arranged for his prasadam. And then he was guided to a particular room where there was a bed and there was silken bedsheet on it. And this Brahmana lay down to take a little rest. And when this Brahmana was taking a little rest, Lord Krishna very silently came and sat on the bed. And then Lord Krishna took the feet of the Brahmana and placed it on his lap. And Lord Krishna slowly, very gently started massaging the Brahmana's leg. Very gently, with a lot of sensitivity. So again, the Supreme Personality of Godhead taking such a position, that shows a very high level of humility. And also the story, when the four Kumaras, they had reached the gate of Vaikuntha, and Jai Vijay stopped them. And when Jai Vijay stopped them, the four Kumaras got they were a little angry. And so Lord Vishnu, who was sitting in his palace, he understood that there's some problem going on at the gate. So Lord Vishnu immediately appeared there. And obviously Lord Vishnu understood what's happening. So Lord Vishnu, he apologized to the four Kumaras. He said that these Jai Vijay, they are my servitors. If they've done something wrong, I on their behalf apologize and please forgive me for their offenses. Again, see, sometimes what happens is, if we do a mistake in material life, if we do a mistake, we want to pass that buck to someone else. We try to tell, I didn't do that mistake. We try to name some other person, But here, Lord Krishna, he has not done any mistake. Someone else has done, but Lord Krishna is still apologizing for someone else's mistake. This again shows quality of humility. Then, when you're talking of this quality of humility, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has shown by his example that we should try to imbibe this quality of humility in our lives. There's a very nice story. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his way to Gaya, and there were some few devotees with him. So when they were going to Gaya, on the way they crossed many towns and villages. So at a particular village, when they were crossing, one of the devotees who was accompanying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he saw that one of the local brahmanas in that particular village was not doing a particular religious activity in a particular way. And this devotee thought that this is not a right way of doing this spiritual activity. And in his mind, he thought of little negativity regarding this brahmana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme personality of Godhead. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood what this devotee is thinking. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't tell this devotee anything. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on his own sweet will, he got very high temperature, he got very high fever. So all the devotees tried to arrange for some medicines, Ayurvedic medicine, this, that, and gave to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Still, that temperature was not going away. So the devotees were in anxiety. God, the Lord has temperature, we have to try to get the temperature down. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told all the devotees that there's one way by there's only one way by which this temperature can come down. And that is, if you wash the feet of a brahmana, and if you give me that water to drink, and if I drink that water, this temperature will go away. So obviously all the devotees wanted the Lord to be rid of the temperature, but no devotee had the daring to wash their own feet and give the water to the Lord. So what the devotees did is, they got hold of a local brahmana, they washed his feet, and that water they brought it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in front of all the devotees, drank that water. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drank the water, immediately the high temperature which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had went away. And the devotees touched the Lord's body and saw that there's no temperature now. Then this devotee, who in his mind had committed a little type of offense against the local brahmana, he immediately understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has done this lila just to teach me a lesson. And this devotee went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and apologized to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forgave him. And this devotee understood that yes, as per time, place, and circumstance, and as per local culture of that place, sometimes some religious activity could be done in a different way, but we should not think negative of that. So this devotee learned his lesson. Now again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the supreme personality of Godhead, imagine he's drinking the water that's washed the feet of a brahmana. This again shows a very high degree level of humility. When we're speaking of humility, for which we all devotees should aspire for, there's another very nice story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we all know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written the Srivas verses. And apart from that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had written a particular book. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had written only one book in his life. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had written this book, one of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's friend had also written a book on a similar topic. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's friend, he came to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has written a book on the same topic. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this friend, he became little, he was thinking now that Nimai, he's known as a very big scholar, famous scholar. People will read Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's book and not my book. So he was thinking he was little morose. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the supreme personality of Godhead, he understood what thought my friend is going through. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took the original manuscript of his writing, and he went and put it in the river. That was the full stop of that book. And so basically again, and we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just written one book of his own life, and that also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the sake of his friend, he went and put it in the river. So again, this shows a very high degree of humility. Here in material world, if we just do a little 1% of something good, we try to magnify it and magnify it as 100% and try to broadcast to the whole world. See, I've done this, I've done that, and this. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, through this particular Leela, is teaching us how we should try to imbibe this quality of humility. And another thing is that a humble person never tries to, like I mentioned, he never tries to show off or brag off. This is the quality of a humble person. In this regard, I would like to tell you something. In India, at least, when small children or different children, when they're in the first standard or second standard or third standard, when they give the exams, the report card is there with all the marks. And in India, the child is given the report card and is told that you please get the signature of either your father or mother and bring it back and give it to the teacher. So I don't know what happens in USA, but this happens in India. So once what happened, a small boy, he was with his father, and that boy, he was talking to his father. He was in the second standard, and many things he was talking. Then he told his father that, Papa, do you have this ability to close your eyes and write? His father said, yes, I can close my eyes and write anything, no problem. So the child is saying, okay, Papa, you please close your eyes and sign on my report card. So the thing is, the father said, yeah, it's my left-hand job. I can easily sign, no problem. So the point is, a person who has a grateful heart, he never wants to show off or brag off about his qualities. Then in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada gives in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, text 18 to 20, Prabhupada gives a fantastic definition of humility. It's one of the best statements I've ever read. Prabhupada writes in the purport, humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. I repeat again. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. So what a beautiful definition. Again, regarding this, how much when people do something, they always look forward at, let me be appreciated, let me be honored. Sometimes even if you give a good lecture, and after a day we meet a devotee, and the devotee said, Roji, I had attended a lecture yesterday. Somewhere in the back of the mind of the speaker, he feels, okay, now maybe this devotee will glorify me, will tell something good about my lecture. Sometimes as sadhakas, we are conditioned souls. So imagine that craving, that longing is there certainly in the background sometimes. But anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this path of bhakti which will eradicate, which will remove all obstacles that we have faced. So regarding this, how much this wanting name, fame, prestige is so much imbibed in us. Once there was a particular tapasvi. This is an analogical story. There was a particular tapasvi. He would do a lot of tapasya, and he would stay in a particular cave in the forest. And the villagers, they would leave some edibles, some fruits and milk outside his cave, and this tapasvi would take it and eat it. And this tapasvi, only once a year he would come out of his cave. And that day, on this particular day of the year, many people from far off villages would come to have darshan of this tapasvi. It would be a very crowded place. So on one particular day, annually once a day, this tapasvi would come out of his village. So one particular year, on this particular day, when this tapasvi came out of his cave, when he came out, usually every time whenever he would come out, there would be thousands and thousands of people just waiting to have his darshan. So, but on this particular day, when this tapasvi came out of his cave, there was not even one person there. This tapasvi started scratching his head, started thinking, what happened? I'm like, people are not there. So this tapasvi thought, okay, let me wait for 10-15 minutes. People will, maybe on their way, they will come. So after waiting for 15-20 minutes also roughly, no one was coming. So this tapasvi was thinking, did I get my date right? He had a particular way of making lines in his cave, to understand which is that on annual day to come out. So he went back in his cave and he counted all the lines. He said, yeah, this is the right day I'm supposed to come out. So again, he came out. It's around 1 hour past and still no one is coming. So this tapasvi thought that there was a big tree near this tapasvi's cave. So this tapasvi thought, let me climb this big tree and let me see if the people are still coming to take my darshan. So this tapasvi, with a lot of difficulty, he climbed the tree and he went, and this tree was a very big, huge tree and very tall. So this tapasvi, with a lot of difficulty, he climbed to the top most part of the tree and was trying to look, where are the people? Where are the people? And he was trying to look, his leg slipped, he fell down and he died. So the point is, this name, fame, when we after it, it doesn't go well with the chemistry of spirituality. Then there's another very nice example of Uddhavji, Krishna's very dear friend Uddhavji. Now Uddhavji, as we all know the story, when Uddhavji had gone, when Krishna sent Uddhavji to Vrindavan to meet the gopis and try to pacify them, And when Uddhavji met them and saw the quality of devotion, saw the quality of surrender, and saw the humility, Uddhavji, just see what Uddhavji prayed. Uddhavji prayed that, my dear Lord, let me be born as a grass or a creeper here, so that the gopis can put their feet on my head. Just Uddhavji didn't pray that, please give me the same quality and devotion like the gopis. Just see. Maybe if you were there, we would have said, Krishna, please give me the same quality like the gopis or like the devotion the gopis had. But Uddhavji's humility, just he didn't pray for that. He prayed what? Let me be born in this place of Vrindavan, the Vraj area, as a grass or creeper, so that the gopis' feet will come on my head. I will get the dust. This again is a very high degree of quality of Uddhavji's humility. Then another thing is, when we show this quality of humility, humility also attracts the blessings of others. A life which is full of blessings is a glorious life. A life which does not have or does not attract the blessings of others is a life of failures. Basically, in spiritual life, we are doing those activities so that we attract the blessings of the Vaishnavas, of Gurudev, and ultimately of Krishna. So, in Mahabharata, before the Mahabharata war was going to be fought, at the battlefield, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when the fighting was going to start, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he went to the other side and he took the blessings of Bhishmadev, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, the elders. Even though he knew that I have to fight them, still, before the war, he went and took the blessings of the elders. And when Bhishma Pitama, Dronacharya, Kripacharya saw this humble quality of Yudhishthira Maharaj, they blessed him fully. They gave the full heart blessings to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Where else? Dronacharya, Kripacharya, and Bhishma Pitama, they were on the side of Duryodhana. But Duryodhana didn't ask for the blessings from his heart to all his elders. And Duryodhana didn't get the blessings of his elders. And the result was a failure on Duryodhana's part. Then, when we're speaking of humility, which is an eternally aspired quality by the Vaishnavas, there's this very nice story about Madhavendra Puri Prabhu. As we all know, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, when he had gone to take darshan of Gopinath, and when he was crossing the temple of Gopinathji, he came to know that there's a very special type of sweet rice which is offered to Gopinathji. So Madhavendra Puri thought to himself that, okay, let me taste that sweet rice, so that, again, whenever there's a feast, when there's a Sunday feast, and when we're sitting in a line for prasadam, and on the opposite side, someone is serving all puri, sabji, and sweet rice, we are thinking, when will the sweet rice come in our plate? We are waiting eagerly for the sweet rice to come, so that we can enjoy eating the sweet rice prasadam. But here, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu is thinking of honoring and tasting the sweet rice, so that he can make for his deities. Just see, that's the glorious quality of this Vaishnava. So Madhavendra Puri was thinking that, okay, let me taste the sweet rice which is offered to the deities here, Gopinath, so that I can make a similar type of sweet rice for my deities. As Madhavendra Puri thought, or this thought came to himself, Madhavendra Puri in the next moment started cursing to himself. He started cursing that, God, what type of devotee or Vaishnava am I? The sweet rice has not yet been offered to the Lord yet, and I'm thinking of eating it. He felt very ashamed of himself, that how can I think of eating the sweet rice before it's offered to the Lord? And in disgust, he was really thinking negative, and he went and sat down on the tree. But Gopinathji, he knows the heart of his devotee always. So what Gopinathji did is, when the sweet rice was being offered to Lord Gopinath on the altar, Gopinathji hid one of the sweet rice in a particular corner. And when the pujari came, and whatever sweet rice was in front of him, he took it up. He did his whatever cleaning and different activities. And then he put the deities to rest and he went to sleep. And when this pujari went to sleep, Gopinathji came in the dream of this pujari and said, my very dear devotee, Madhavendra Puri has come to this place. And I've stolen one pot of sweet rice for him. And it is at that place. Please go take the sweet rice and give it to Madhavendra Puri. And the pujari, he was a very pure person at heart. He could immediately understand the Lord. He got up, had his bath very quickly, and he went to the altar. And yes, at the corner of a particular place, he saw the sweet rice which the Lord had hidden for his dear devotee. So immediately he took that sweet rice, the pujari. But the pujari had never seen Madhavendra Puri, never met. So he didn't know who was Madhavendra Puri. So this pujari in that village, he took a sweet rice and he's shouting, "Who's Madhavendra Puri Prabhu? Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, please come forward. The Lord Gopinath has stolen the sweet rice and he's told me to give it to you. Please come forward. Who's Madhavendra Puri Prabhu?" And all the people in the village are wondering, wow, who's this Madhavendra Puri Prabhu? Whom the Lord has stolen the sweet rice. And they were all eager to know who is this Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri Prabhu was just sitting on the tree and then he heard his name being called out. So then Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, he went to this pujari and in a very humble way, he said, "I am this Madhavendra Puri." Then the pujari said, "Wow, you are such a great devotee. You are very glorious. Your life is glorious. The Lord himself has stolen this sweet rice and told me to give it to you. Please take it. Please take it." Then Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, with a lot of humility and respect, he took that sweet rice and he honored it. Now, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu, in that same evening, now the whole village came to know the glories of Madhavendra Puri Prabhu. So that night, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu was thinking, now next day morning, a lot of people will come in this village and they'll start honoring me and they're glorifying me. And Madhavendra Puri Prabhu didn't want that glorification. He didn't want to be glorified that way. So what he did is, in that evening, at that night itself, Madhavendra Puri Prabhu left that village and he went to another village so that he wanted to avoid this glorification of himself. That was the whole main purpose of leaving that village that night. And when Madhavendra Puri Prabhu left that village and went to another village, and when he reached that village, in the morning when he got up, already there were many, many people to glorify and adore Madhavendra Puri. So glories had reached the village before Madhavendra Puri reached there. Now, there's a competition with the Lord and his devotees. The devotee doesn't want to be glorified, but the Lord, equally, he wants to glorify his devotees. So there's a little tug of war in a spiritual way. So now again, from this story, we can understand the humility of Madhavendra Puri. The genuine saints, the genuine Vaishnavas, their humility just stands out. Even though you don't want to then notice the humility, it's just they're so much full of humility that the humility just stands out and it melts our heart. Then no lecture on humility would be complete without mentioning the name of Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami was the personification of humility. Just one narration, one pastime of his I will narrate. Once Sanatana Goswami, we know he's one of the 6 Goswamis, such a pure associate of the Lord. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent a message when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami, they were staying in Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya was staying at Gambhira. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent a messenger with a message to Sanatana Goswami. It was in the afternoon. And this messenger told Sanatana Goswami that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would like to meet you. And it was the afternoon time. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when sent this message, Sanatana Goswami immediately said, "Yes, I will come and meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Now, then immediately Sanatana Goswami left from his place and came to Gambhira to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when Sanatana Goswami came to Gambhira to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed that Sanatana Goswami had blisters on his feet. And his feet had got, a lot of reddish and a lot of blisters. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sanatana Goswami, "Why did you get this? How come did you get these blisters?" Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sanatana Goswami that while coming from your house to my place, which route did you take? There were 2 routes which Sanatana Goswami could have taken to come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place. One was through the sand, through the beach, and the second was through Lord Jagannath's temple. There were 2 routes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Sanatana Goswami, "Which route did you take to come to my place?" So Sanatana Goswami put his head a little down. Sanatana Goswami was a little reluctant in answering this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately understood. What had happened is, if anyone has gone to Jagannath Puri in summertime, it's very, very hot. And the beach, the sand on the beach is very, very hot. You barely can manage to take 1 or 2 steps in that hot sand without your slippers. It's very, very hot. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood what Sanatana Goswami had done is, Sanatana Goswami, he was feeling himself unqualified. He was feeling himself that if I take the road which crosses Lord Jagannath's temple, and if some pujaris of Lord Jagannath are crossing, if my body touches them by mistake, they will become impure. They'll become impure. So that's why Sanatana Goswami thought that let me better take the route of the hot sand. And in those days, Goswamis, they didn't wear any footwear. They would walk barefoot everywhere. So Sanatana Goswami, he took that austerity of walking for very, very long on the hot sand. And because of that, Sanatana Goswami, he got this blisters on his leg. So Chaitanya Prabhu understood this consciousness of Sanatana Goswami. Chaitanya Prabhu embraced Sanatana Goswami and he just shed tears. So this is the quality of, this was the quality of Sanatana Goswami. Then when you're talking of humility, again, another example is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who has written the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Imagine, I'm like a person who's writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he has to be an eternal associate of the Lord, They're directly from the spiritual world, these people. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, his heart was so much with humility. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami would mention that if anyone takes my name, he will lose all his pious credit. And when these Vaishnavas, pure Vaishnavas, when they speak that way, it comes out from their heart. Sometimes we sadhaka, at least I'm speaking of myself, when I speak, oh, Prabhu, don't glorify this, that, it's little sometimes superficial at times, because of our conditioned nature. But when this great Vaishnava, they said that, please don't take my name. If you take my name, you lose all your pious credit, what you have accumulated throughout your life. They mean it from their heart. But obviously, if you think of these great Vaishnavas, our spiritual life increases. We make more advanced in spiritual life just by taking the name of such great Vaishnavas or about thinking about them. There's no question of going down in spiritual life. But this is the humble heart of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Then there's this wonderful story in South India when you're talking of humility. There's the story of Dasarathi. Dasarathi was one of the famous disciples of Ramanujacharya. We all know Ramanujacharya was one of the famous saints and spiritual leaders of South India. So Ramanujacharya had a very scholar and very famous disciple by the name of Dasarathi. Very, very scholar, very big scholar. So once Dasarathi, he was with his Gurudev and he was asking his Gurudev that, Gurudev, can you please tell me the meaning, what is the real meaning of this verse? Sarva dharma paritajam mam ekam sharvam vraja. The translation, basically abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender to me. So Dasarathi wanted to know the real deep meaning of this verse. And when he was discussing with his Gurudev, there were some other people in that room. There was one great devotee by the name of Mahapun, and he had a daughter named Atuli. So Atuli was there also in the room with some other people. And Atuli was telling to Ramanujacharya that, now I've got married and I've gone to this place. And there, twice a day, I have to walk for, 2 miles to fetch water. And every day I have to do 2 times, I have to go 1 mile going, 1 mile coming and get this water twice a day. And a lot of kitchen work, a lot of household work, So she was just talking to Ramanujacharya like this. So Ramanujacharya said, okay. So Ramanujacharya told Dasarathi to do one thing. Dasarathi, you should go as a helper in her house, and you should get all the water and help Atuli with all the kitchen work, everything. So Dasarathi was ever ready to do any service which was asked of his Gurudev. So Dasarathi went with Atuli and other family members to this place. And when they went, Dasarathi was very in a humble way, doing all kitchen work, getting water and everything. But these family people did not know that he's the great Dasarathi. Because they had not met, and so they didn't know that he's the great Dasarathi, the famous disciple of Ramanujacharya. And in the village is a small place where you basically come to know each other in a very short time. So very humbly, Dasarathi would do this service, all the kitchen work, get the water, and like a servant, he was just acting. Then one day, this happened for many, many weeks. Then one day, there was a particular person who had come in the village, and he was giving a talk on the scriptures. And there was a big gathering of people in the audience, and he was giving a talk. And Dasarathi was also sitting. He had finished his work. And while talking, the speaker, when he was speaking, there was a tinge of impersonalism or Mayavad in that. So, a devotee can never tolerate any tinge of impersonal being spoken, especially when you're quoting the Gita or the Bhagavatam and you're trying to bring in the idea of impersonalism. A devotee will never tolerate that. So Dasarathi in a very humble way got up and told the speaker, sir, what you're speaking is actually not so correct version. This is the real version. This is the real meaning. And Dasarathi went on quoting slokas left, right, center, and analyzing in a very logical manner and systematic manner. And when all the villagers, they saw the scholar approach and the knowledge and the humility of Dasarathi, they were just wonderstruck. And the speaker also came down and apologized to Dasarathi. And then the villagers came to know that he's the great Dasarathi, the great disciple of Ramacharya. And all the villagers and all this information reached Atuli and all her in-laws and the whole family. Then whole family and the villagers, they told Dasarathi, Bhai, no, please, you're the great scholar, great Vaishnava. How can we be taking all this service? You getting water for us, you cleaning the kitchen for us. No, we can't take this service anymore. Please, we cannot take any service. You go, we'll send some Brahmanas who will accompany you and you can go back to Sri Rangam. But Dasarathi, like a true disciple, he said, no, my Gurudev has instructed me to come and do the service for your house. I cannot leave this service at all. So the villagers and the Tuli's in-laws, they understood Dasarathi will not say no. So Dasarathi's in-law, the family members and the elders of the village, they went to Sri Rangam and they told Ramacharya this great feat and the great way Dasarathi was behaving and the way humbly Dasarathi was serving the family. So Ramacharya was very happy. So Ramacharya himself walked with the devotees and himself came to this village to take back Dasarathi. And Ramacharya came and he embraced Dasarathi and embraced him and took him. And then Ramacharya ji explained in the deep meaning of this verse, and then Dasarathi now understood the deep meaning of this verse, Sarvadharma. So again, this humility, I'm like, it just melts and attracts people's heart. Then there's another very nice example of Ramacharya. Ramacharya, his guru was Sri Shalapur. And once Ramacharya ji, he was already in his very peak, and the whole South India and the whole of India practically knew about him, about his devotion, about his scholarship, about his knowledge of the scriptures. And he was very glorified wherever he went. So once Ramacharya, he was coming up to Tirupati. He was going up to Tirupati to have darshan. And we all know that, Tirupati is on a hill and you have to walk up. And it takes you a couple of hours. So when Ramacharya ji was going up, climbing on Tirupati, going to have the Lord's darshan, his Gurudev, Sri Shalapurna, came to greet his disciple, to welcome and greet his disciple. And they both met halfway on the distance, halfway. So when Ramacharya saw his Gurudev, then his Gurudev said, I've walked all this while just to welcome you and for you to welcome you, I've come here. So Ramacharya told to his Gurudev, he obviously paid his full dandavats to his Gurudev, and he told his Gurudev, why you had to come to welcome me? You walked so many hours, why you had to come to welcome me? You could have sent some neophyte devotee to welcome me. That was okay. So his Gurudev Sri Shalapurna told Ramacharya that you're right. I should have sent a neophyte devotee. But I looked in the ashram for the most neophyte devotee. But I could not find anyone more neophyte than me. That's why I myself have come. I'm like just such a humble. What is his Gurudev say? His Gurudev said that I looked for the most neophyte devotee all around me so that I could send that person to meet you, but I could not find anyone more neophyte than me. So that's why I have come. What a super example of humility. Then Srila Prabhupada also full of humility. One thing I would like to narrate of Srila Prabhupada. Once Srila Prabhupada was talking to his disciples, in an informal way, he was just talking, and was talking of Dhruv Maharaj's pastime. And then Srila Prabhupada was telling that Dhruv Maharaj, when it was the end of his life, when he was going back to the spiritual world, his mother was also going back to the spiritual world. And Prabhupada said that Dhruv Maharaj, because Dhruv Maharaj's mother, because of Dhruv Maharaj's devotion, Dhruv Maharaj's mother also went to the spiritual world. Prabhupada was speaking that way. Then Prabhupada told his disciple that I'm also praying that one of my disciples becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. And because of my disciples' devotion and bhakti, the Lord will take me to the spiritual world too. So again, what a sweet example of Srila Prabhupada's humility. Then another example is that of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, one of his prayers to the Lord was that, my dear Lord, let me be born as a devotee outside a devotee's house so that I can get the remnants of a devotee, and my life will be a success. Well, definitely the way dogs are treated in US and the dogs are treated in India, there's a big difference. Obviously, in the USA, I was told there are dog parlors and whatever thing, there are dog psychiatrists also in US. In India, the dogs, especially in the villages, they're just roaming here, there. They're, there's no guarantee when they'll get food to eat, no place for them proper to sleep. They'll sleep anywhere. They just, and suppose someone comes near some person's house, the dog is should have go away, go away, go away. So imagine Haridas Thakur. What is he praying to the Lord? He's praying to the Lord. Lord, let me be born as a devotee outside. Let me be born as a dog outside a devotee's house, so that I can get the remnants of the devotee to eat, and my life can be success. Again, and when these devotees pray, they really mean it. That is the difference between these great Vaishnavas and we sadhakas. So this again a supreme example of humility of Haridas Thakur. Then another example of a really very high degree of humility is that of Narottam Das Thakur. Amazing. Narottam Das Thakur, he was a prince actually. He was a prince, but he left all his glitter, glamour, wealth, everything, and he came to Vrindavan. And we all know that he wanted to take initiation from Loknath Goswami, but Loknath Goswami, he, because of various reasons, he said that I'm not giving Disha to anyone. So somehow Narottam Das Thakur, he wanted to just serve Loknath Goswami, and he would serve him every menial way. And we know that previously in the Vedic times, people, in order to respond to nature in the morning, they would go outside the house and they would respond to nature. So when Loknath Goswami, in the morning, whenever he would go out to respond to nature's call, he would go to a particular place, but he would find that place always very clean. So Loknath Goswami would wonder that who's cleaning this place? It always looks very clean whenever I come. Now, what would happen is Narottam Das Thakur, he would get up much earlier than his Gurudev, than Loknath Goswami, and he would go to those bushes and clean that area very nicely, so that it would be kept very nice and clean when Loknath Goswami would come to respond to nature's call. So Loknath Goswami was wondering that one day, that who's cleaning it? Who's doing this work? One day Loknath Goswami got up very early and hid near the bushes just to see who's coming to clean. And when he hid near the bushes, he saw Narottam Das Thakur coming there and cleaning that place with his own hand. Loknath Goswami couldn't believe it. Loknath Goswami was thinking, God, Narottam Das Thakur is a prince and he's doing this menial work. Loknath Goswami came out of the bushes and he went and he just embraced Narottam Das Thakur and told Narottam, you're a prince. Why are you doing such type of low work for me? This humble act of Narottam Das Thakur just melted and defeated Loknath Goswami. And Loknath Goswami said, okay, I will initiate you. And we all know that Loknath Goswami had only one disciple in his life, and that was Narottam Das Thakur. So again, humility here won the heart of Narottam Das Thakur, won the heart of Loknath Goswami. Yes. And what happened sometimes as sadhakas, as practicing devotees, sometimes when we are crossing the road or traveling in different parts and cities, and sometimes when we see some non-devotee, and so sometimes we may feel that we are better than those non-devotees. We should not feel that we are better than them. We should feel we are more fortunate than them. Fortunate. There's a difference between considering ourselves better and considering ourselves more fortunate. When we consider ourselves better, we feel, okay, I'm a little up, and that person a little down. But when we consider ourselves more fortunate, that shows a grateful heart. Okay. Now, when we're speaking of these qualities of humility, okay, we have spoken. Now, another question would be how to develop this quality of humility. That should be a very important question in our minds going on. Now, obviously, see, when we talk of pure humility, a genuine humility, it could be referred at when a pure devotee, when a person purifies his foot anarthas, then his action reflects pure 100% humility. But we are sadhakas. So if we want to develop this pure humility, just now we do not have. But the way to develop is that as an austerity, we have to take a humble position at times as an austerity. Definitely, sometimes, sometimes when we're dealing with the God brothers and God sisters or in the material world, sometimes, our approach is not humble, but we have to, as an austerity, take a humble position. And at the same time, we should be doing our sadhana very nicely, trying to chant a 16 rounds very sincerely, reading everyday Prabhupada's books every day, associating with devotees on a regular basis. When we combine these both, that as an austerity, we take a humble position and doing a sadhana very nicely, a combination of these two things will definitely purify us and increase our humility, and and definitely a stage will come in life when we'll be able to become full 100%, will purify 100% anathas and reflect that full 100% humility in us. Okay. Then another thing is that, sometimes we go in front of deities and say, my dear Lord, please make me humble. I don't have this humility. Please make me humble. Please make me humble. And after we have prayed, after 3-4 hours, when you interact with some God brother or God sister, and they tell us something strong, and then we retaliate back. Why are you saying this to me? Why can't you speak a little more sweeter? Why can't you speak in a more humble tone? We sometimes say that. I would like to tell you, in the morning, what? We pray to the Lord. Lord, please make me humble. See, in Kali Yuga, the Lord will not come in front of us and tell, okay, Srivas Thakur, today I've come in front of you. I touch your head. From now on, you'll be a very humble devotee. See, the Lord can do anything at any time. But in Kali Yuga, it's very rarely the Lord will do something like that. So the Lord, when we pray for humility, the Lord, He helps us to develop this quality through various means. So when we pray for humility, the Lord, through various means and through various instruments, He will try to teach us this quality of humility. So when we're dealing with God brothers, God sisters, and someone tells something a little strong word at times, again, as an austere, we should just tolerate it. But again, now, sometimes, if suppose when we are dealing with the God brothers and God sisters, sometimes when we're doing some service or seva, so sometimes because of our conditioned nature, sometimes a God brother or God sister may speak a little harsh sentence or a sentence in not such a good tune. And we retaliate also at times. We retaliate. Then later on, sometimes we come to know, oh, actually I retaliated. I should not have retaliated. I should not have told strong words to that devotee. And we want to go and beg forgiveness. But this sorry word sometimes just does not come out from our mouth. Even after, as a sadhaka, sometimes this sorry word does not come out from our mouth. It's my personal experience also. I don't know if you all have experience. But then what to do? So I do one thing at least. Intellectually, logically, I know, yeah, I did that mistake. I shouldn't have spoken those strong words to the devotee. I should definitely say sorry. But my ego, my conditioned ego is just not allowing me to say sorry. So I go in front of my deities. If you're not in front of deities, you can just remember your Gurudev or remember Krishna Radharan and try to offer humble prayer to them. My dear Lord, I want to say that sorry to that Vaishnava, that Vaishnavi, but somehow because of my conditioned nature, because of my this big elephant ego, I'm not able to say sorry. Please empower me. Please give me that Shakti so that I can say sorry to this Vaishnava or this Vaishnavi. And believe me, it is not 99%. It is 101% you'll find success. You pray like this, 101% Krishna will give you the Shakti. Krishna will empower you to go and say sorry. And when you say sorry, such a sweet relationship happens. And when you say sorry to Vaishnav, the other Vaishnav says, no, Prabhu, actually, I understand. Actually, it was my fault. Then a transcendental competition starts happening. This devotee says sorry. That devotee says, no, Prabhu, I'm sorry. Says, no, I'm sorry. This transcendental loving exchange goes on happening. So again, so when that humble approach doesn't happen, pray to the Lord. The Lord is very, very merciful. He will empower us with special Shakti. Okay. Then, this in India, this Akbar and Birbal stories are very famous in India. Once Akbar, he called all his ministers, and he took a paper and he drew a big line on the paper. And he told all his ministers that without rubbing or without cutting, you all have to make this line smaller. So all the other ministers started scratching their head. They said, hey, without rubbing or cutting, how can you make this big line small? So obviously, Birbal, he had the answer to everything. So Birbal went to Akbar and said, okay, I will make this smaller. So all the ministers are laughing. They thought, okay, Birbal is very clever, but how can he make the smaller line smaller? So where the big line was drawn, Birbal took the pencil And in front of the big line, he drew a small line. And he told Akbar, sir, now, that this line is now a smaller line. So the point was you have to prove. Birbal basically was told that you have to prove that, make that this. He drew a bigger line. Sorry, Birbal drew a bigger line in front of that previous line. So when Birbal drew a bigger line, obviously the first line looked smaller. So the point what I'm trying to say is, when we associate the senior devotees, we understand. We understand, our position. We understand our position, and we get inspired to take the association and try to become more humble. So again, the point of what I'm trying to say is, always associate with senior devotees, always associate with spiritually elevated devotees. In the association, we'll understand what is our level and will aspire to become more humble in life. Okay. Now, another thing is, a humble person, a person with this quality of humility, will have gratefulness in his heart. He'll always be a grateful person. A humble person is always a grateful person. So we should also try to develop this quality of gratefulness. To the degree we try to develop this quality of gratefulness, to that degree also we'll be humble in life. Regarding this regarding this quality of gratefulness, I would like to narrate to a story. Once, in one of the trains in India, there were many passengers who were traveling in the train. And when they were traveling for a few hours in the train. So after a few hours, and in the train, one of the passengers was a very big wrestler, very fat, big wrestler was sitting. Inside of this wrestler was a thin passenger sitting. So after a few hours of traveling, the thin passenger told to this wrestler that, sir, what is the time? So this wrestler, he took his fist and he gave a big one blow on the thin passenger's head. Tong! 1 o'clock. It is 1 o'clock. He got a big hit. So this thin passenger, he closed his eyes, he was thinking something. That all the other passengers seeing what is happening. So all the other passengers go to this thin passenger and tell him, "Arey, what are you thinking so much? We know that you can't fight with this wrestler, but you retaliate verbally, we will support you. What do you think so much?" So this thin passenger, he's saying that actually, I was closing my eyes and I was thanking the Lord. I was thanking the Lord that I did not ask this wrestler the time 1 hour back. What does the thin passenger say? He said that I'm thankful to the Lord, I'm thanking the Lord, and I'm grateful to the Lord that I did not ask this wrestler the time 1 hour back. If I had asked the time 1 hour back, what would have happened? This wrestler would have hit him 12 times on his head, So basically, whatever position in life we are, we should always feel grateful to the Lord. Sometimes we compare ourselves, in whatever it is, maybe our education, our financial, our job, a different type of, I have this type of husband, I have this type of wife, I should have had this type of husband, this type of child, this type of daughter, comparing, And so the point is, whatever situation we are, if we try to cultivate this quality of gratefulness, it will help us in this quality of in our journey of humility. And what other things? And when we're talking of humility, I would like to narrate to you a very nice example. There was a devotee by the name of Kuvera Prabhu. He was a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj. Very, very humble devotee. Very humble devotee. Now, Kuvera Prabhu, towards the end of his life, he got this deadly disease, cancer. And when he got this cancer, the doctors told him this cancer has reached a very advanced stage. You'll be dying in a couple of weeks. So Kuvera Prabhu, with his humility, he had just melted everyone's heart. So when he was on his deathbed, when Kuvera Prabhu was on his deathbed, because of his humility, when he was dealing with others throughout his life, he had melted the heart of literally anyone who he met. On his deathbed, obviously there were devotees reading from the Bhagavad Gita to him. There were Muslims who had come in a group and they were reading from the Quran for Kuvera Prabhu. There were Christians who had come in a group and the Christians were reading from the Bible for Kuvera Prabhu. Even atheists who didn't believe in God, they also came to give their respect to Kuvera Prabhu. Even atheists. And there was one lady who came. also to show her respect for Kuber Prabhu on his deathbed. And this lady was telling that actually, I was actually, before I met Kuber Prabhu, I was actually, because of my circumstance, I did not have a good degree. And because of my bad association, and I had to maintain my family, I was into prostitution. She was a prostitute before, and she would earn her money that way. And she said that one day somehow I happened to meet Kuber Prabhu, and Kuber Prabhu gave me so much respect, love, and care that I thought, okay, I will leave up this prostitution. She left the prostitution. She tried somehow got some education. She finished education. She got a job. She later got married, and she had children. She is now a very nice family. And she was telling the devotees and all the people there, my life has changed because of Kuber Prabhu. Because the way Kuber Prabhu with so much humility and respect he dealt with me, I just wanted to change. So what I'm saying is, if we develop this quality of humility, whoever we meet, we'll definitely put such a positive impact on them, and will be an instrument in Gurudev and Krishna's hands to inspire others in their spiritual journey. So I was told to speak 45 minutes to 1 hour. So it's around 5 minutes to 8 as per Indian time. It's around 55 minutes since we started. I will, if anyone has any questions or if any comments to make, you're most welcome.
Hi, Krishna Babu. Thank you so much for wonderful talk. If your permission, I'll just give a little bit announcement, just 1 minute and 1 or 2 minutes announcement, and after that we'll take the questions. Is that okay?
Fine, fine.
Thank you. So, devotees, I request you that it was such a wonderful topic on humility. I'm pretty sure that everybody has many questions on that. So while you're gathering your questions, you may write it on the chat room and raise your hand and mute it in orderly manner and ask the questions. Before that, I'll just make short announcement about our programs and offerings at the ISKCON of Bergen. Okay. So at ISKCON of Bergen, program like this, Wednesday Sangha happens every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. US time, Eastern time. And this this Sunday, we are going to have the Sunday program with His Grace Bhakti Prabhu. And we do the Bhakti Briksh programs on Fridays. And there's a morning japa. And morning japa starts at 6 o'clock and at the same Zoom. And so you can participate in any of these programs and get the association of all the devotees. Thank you so much. So with that, I'll just transfer that to Prabhuji's questions. In the meantime, give me 1 second. Okay, so Madhava Prabhu, go ahead with the question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for the wonderful class about humility. Prabhuji, mera question ye tha ke throughout the days when we try to cultivate this humility, try to fake it till we make it, So many times because of our past conditioning that kind of attacks us and we feel like, matlab chhod do yaar, kitna humility, just be yourself, just be free. So how can we, try to tell our mind and control ourselves that no, keep moving forward, keep, trying hard, like how do we sustain?
Very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you for this question. There are a couple of points which I would like to throw on this. One thing is that, Prabhuji, we have to understand philosophically also and logically that this life is very, very short, Prabhuji, very short. If you take from the time when the creation was, when the Lord made this whole creation and so many yugas came and gone, if you compare with this time, a fraction of life, maybe even though we live up to 80, 90 years, the life of 80, 90 years is like a flash of lightning, Prabhu. In fact, I would say it's faster than a flash of lightning. Average age of maybe 80, 90 years also if you live. Now, we understand, through so many lives we have been conditioning ourselves, so many lives, bro, so many lives. And whether, the six anarthas, the hill of six anarthas in heart is so big that it will make Mount Everest look tiny. That much anarthas are there in the heart, bro, in one sense. Now, keeping that we have lifetimes of conditioning on a head, on a heart, and our life is very short. There's no guarantee, Prabhuji, that will be alive the same time tomorrow. That is very too far, I've told. There's no guarantee. Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days. We can't even guarantee 7 minutes will be alive. People are getting heart attacks at the age of 21, 25 nowadays, Prabhuji. So one angle we have to understand that on a head, on a heart, there's so many anarthas to purify. The second, they have to understand where we have very less time, and that can come anytime. And if I don't keep on purifying my anarthas, and if that comes anytime, if I'm not purifying my anarthas, again, I'll have to come back in this material world, life after life. And do we want to come back again in this material world, Prabhu? At least many devotees bolte, both papad bel liya. Devotees say, both papad bel liya. I've had enough. Bhagwan, Lord Krishna, this is my last life. My Lord, please don't let me come back again. So imagine again coming back this material world means again birth, disease, old age, death, 3 kleshas. We have to go through that, everything again. And imagine we come back again in this material world. Obviously, when we come back, Kali would have deteriorated more. Now, already, Prabhuji, in this deteriorated Kali just now, we're having so many challenges with our sadhana, with trying to do good spiritual life. Imagine when we come back in the next life and Kali is deteriorated more. And if we come back and, if after 10,000 years also, when the golden time is over, imagine if we take birth that time. Obviously, if we have 60% devotional service, it'll be at 60%. But even to balance, to reignite a spiritual life, to start a spiritual life, it'll be a big, can you imagine? It'll be a big challenge, Prabhu. Do we want to come back and face that area? I would definitely not want to. So when we reflect on these things, we have to understand we are on fire. Materially, we are on fire. Forget any minute. No, forget wasting a minute. We can't be wasting even a moment in spiritual life without being on spiritual fire. We have to have the spiritual fire in us. So when we contemplate on some of these thoughts, it will keep our determination on. That is one thing, Prabhuji. And another thing, we should associate as much as possible with senior devotees, with devotees who don't want to waste the time, who are on spiritual fire. When there's such devotees, such strong Vaishnavas, such elevated Vaishnavas, then we don't leave any room for, ठीक है, जाने दो ना यार, take लेंगे बाद में यार. Today, let me take a break from humility. My dear humility, tomorrow I'll wear your cap. We will not have that attitude. I hope I have addressed your question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhava. Ramjan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Srivas Thakur Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm not able to come on the camera. I'm right now in the car. So some very, very good examples you gave. And surprisingly, but not surprisingly, you gave the examples of within God brothers and God sisters. There is sometimes this humility goes out of the window, and you gave that example. So where you are coming from also, which is in Mumbai, there is this counselor system. And counselor means, or a mentor or a Siksha Guru means to point the mistakes or point areas where one sees that they have the ability, but they're lacking or slacking, or just like a parent encourages the child or pushes the child because they know that the child has the potential. So generally we see that even if it be in the material world or in the spiritual association, that everything is nice until we are glorified and nobody says anything. But the moment if some things are said, or just to inspire them or aspire them, or then humility goes out of the window. So being in that counselor system, how did you deal with if your mentor came up to you and said something which was for your own betterment? How did you make your mind understand that, no, first of all, I need to know who my mentor is and have full faith in them? Now, after that, whatever they say is for my own betterment, for my own goodness. So how do you keep reminding? How do you have, if you can share some experiences?
Prabhu, your voice was not clear at times. Just let me summarize your question if I get it right. Did you mention that, see, as a counselor, okay, as a little here, when I'm dealing with the people who are under me, and if they point out some drawback in me or some fault of mine, how do I respond? Is that your question, Prabhuji?
Correct, correct. How do
Okay.
you not let your mind trick you and say, you know what, let me go find another mentor, or you forget the humility, you forget the class Srivas Thakur Prabhu gave.
Okay. So see, when suppose someone comes up to me, and tells me that what you have done is not proper or should be corrected that way, then definitely, because of conditioned nature, our first would be, there's a tendency to defend ourselves. Usually, I'm sharing my experience. Initially, on face value, immediately we want to defend, or the thought comes to defend, or to justify the no, that was not a mistake. I did, the first thought comes itself. Okay. But then somehow I'm very fortunate, and before we were made counselors, we've given a lot of trainings, and that's in Radha Gopinath Temple. That's a very plus point here, that when you're given this leadership position, we are put through a lot of training in various areas. So I'm very grateful to the management of my temple that they put us through this training. So through this training, I had learned that, okay, don't, obviously a conditioned mind will give a first self-defense, or maybe want to defend or give a self-defense, but then just think over it, and we think over it, and then don't react, respond. Just think over it and assimilate, okay. And if suppose, yes, and it's not that, see, we are not 100% correct always, even as counselors. Definitely we do make mistakes, and there's always scope for room for improvement. And when we analyze if there is something good in that, or something which was right and I should try to improve, definitely I tell that counselee or that devotee, yes, Prabhuji, I'm sorry this happened. We'll try to improve. So this is one of the ways. But yes, definitely, it's not that easy, Prabhuji. Suppose some junior person of yours, or someone who just little who's not so many years in spiritual life as compared to you, and comes and tells you these things, it's not very easy to take it sometimes. Honestly, this is sharing from myself in honest way. It's not easy at times because of conditioned nature. But then, like, I have to walk my talk also. Like we mentioned that, one of the areas is that as an austerity, we have to take humble position. In fact, Prabhuji, I will share one very nice thing with you. This, wanting to apologize, it's not very easy with these conditions, because of conditioning. Even as sadhakas, I remember once many years back, I stay in Bombay, in Mira Road, place called Mira Road. In the early morning, I was driving my car, and I was taking a U-turn, and there was no light in India. In some of the places, there's no traffic signal. So I was taking a U-turn, and when I was taking a U-turn, there was another bike coming from the other side. So in my given experience, I thought I had taken proper safety measures, and I had done it right way. But what happened? This bike person, it was early in the morning. There were hardly any. This bike person came in front of my car. I stopped my car. I told, you were not taking you did not take the turn properly. And he was in a very aggressive fighting mood. So I didn't want to enter into an argument or anything with him. I just told him, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. And in my given experience, I didn't think I had done anything wrong, but I didn't want to start into argument. I just told him, okay, sorry, I'm apologize. And the person said, next time be careful when you're driving. I said, okay. Then I came home. Then believe me, probably, you'll not believe this thought for weeks and weeks was coming in mind, that why I had to apologize for him. Why did not I give him back? Why I had to take a humble position? In fact, you'll be surprised sometimes the next few days when I was doing my japa, also that thought was coming. Why I had to take a humble position in front of him? Why did not I retaliate? But I pray to Lord, I have to, please help me come out of. Then after a few weeks, that thought came out of my mind, that was not disturbing me. The same thing when we are dealing with, devotees, Prabhuji. It's not that easy at times to take a correction on itself. But again, Prabhuji, how do we improve? I'm like, if as an austerity, we have to walk our talk, as an austerity, we have to take this humble position, do a sadhana nicely. And by doing such things, when Krishna becomes pleased, he empowers us with this quality of humility more and more. Ramchandra, did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, very much. Thank you so much. And you rightly mentioned it is an austerity that we, don't think about. It is an austerity. And we always say your servant, and we always want to be the servant of the servant of the servant. So especially in the leadership position, we many times saying sorry is easy when we are wrong. Then when even we are not wrong, but just to make the situation better, we even take a humble position and say sorry, even though we may know in our heart of hearts what I said or did wasn't wrong. But still, if it solves the problem, it's still okay to say to apologize.
Very right.
So thank you very much. Thank you.
And regarding this point, I'll just share one more point. Like you mentioned, one very nice point that sometimes, even though when we have acted, when we know we are not wrong, still to say sorry, it takes a very big effort and a lot of spiritual maturity. Regarding spiritual, I'll share a very nice example. There's one very senior Srila Prabhupada's disciple, a sannyasi. Once in that particular congregation, two senior devotees had little type of negative interaction among both of them. Sometimes this happens in Kali Yuga. So this matter reached to the senior most leader. He was the sannyasi. So when this matter reached to the sannyasi, this leader, he heard both the parties, both were senior devotees. And then later he was speaking to them one by one differently. So he told to one of the senior leaders that the sannyasi told them, let's see, well, let me try to get the exact thing. Yeah, the senior sannyasi leader told this devotee, let's see, you may be right, but it's still better because this devotee is hurt. It's better still you say sorry. Then the senior sannyasi told the next statement was $1 million statement. The sannyasi said that Vaishnavism is above right and wrong. What a $1 million statement. I will remember this statement for my lifeline. The senior sannyasi told this senior devotee that yes, you may be right, but still, since it has offended and brought a bitter experience, you go and say sorry because Vaishnavism is above right and wrong. What a beautiful statement it was. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and that reminds me of another story where one sannyasi told a disciple something and the disciple didn't agree with, and he said this was not right. And another senior god brother said the same thing, that Vaishnavism is beyond right and wrong or wrong. It's not about what you think is right or wrong, but as long as the spiritual master is in good standing, hasn't fallen down, and you may not agree with what the spiritual master is saying, but you must still submit and with humility accept, and in time you will understand why he said what he said. Thank you.
Very true, very true. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice conversation. Lakha, do you have some question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Very good.
I have a question in the context of humility in the material world. Sometimes I'm in the workplace when we are humble and when we are very showing humility to others, we are misconceived like as timid or shy or lacking courage, right? How do we balance that, take the spiritual humility to material world, but still maintain that ground?
Very nice, Mathe. Very nice question. Very practical question. Now, one thing I would say, when Arjuna on the battlefield, he was shooting those arrows with all his determination, with all his concentrate, with all his energy. Can a Vaishnav say he was not humble? He was. Even Arjuna shooting those arrows was a sign of his humility. So basically, humility means trying to please a guru, trying to please acharyas. Any activity done, keeping that in mind, is humility. This will go bouncers for a materialist. A person is not a devotee will not understand what we are talking of. But yes. So again, when we are dealing in offices, like I'm working in my office. I have since the last 25, 27 years I've been working. Now, when you're working in the office, we have to do the needful when we are dealing with anyone. At times, when you have to be assertive, we have to be assertive. But yes, in the outside world, sometimes the other people, they'll talk their tone of language is very bad. Their words sometimes they use is bad, and they do politics in office and all. But as devotees, when we are working in office, if we are straightforward in our dealings, and see again, Prabhupada has said a very nice statement. As per time, place, and circumstance, do the needful. So yes, definitely we don't let anyone take advantage of us or sit on a head in our workplace. Yeah? Because again, that'll affect our professional work also. That'll affect our effectiveness also. So yes, at times when you have to be assertive, we are assertive. But yes, we deal in such a way that people will admire us. Like, I know so many devotees who are professionals, but the way they work in office, because they don't do any politics, they don't do any backbiting. So other people who are politics people, other people, they respect this devotee. If they have some problem, something they want to share content, they'll come and take his advice. But initially, they may have tried to take advantage. But again, like Prabhupada said, as per time, place, and circumstance, do the needful. So yes, when you work in office, we don't start behaving very rudely or very arrogantly. Very gently we deal with others. But yes, when it comes to professional work, if at times I have to show my assertive position, I deal assertively. So I would say, Mataji, as per different devotees will have different office situation. As per that situation, you have to do the needful. But definitely, and when you are, and another thing, Mataji, if we are doing a sadhana nicely, and when we are interacting with people in the office in a general way, and when it comes to being assertive, when it comes to taking results in an official way, we do the needful. People will not take advantage. They'll not think that we are timid. They'll appreciate it. So, Mataji, did I address your question, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, very nice reflections. Yes, at the outward layer, it may look maybe we are not in a comfortable situation, but in the long run, definitely, Prabhu, I can resonate. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakha Mataji. And thank you so much, Srivas Thakur Prabhuji,